When specifying numeric arguments in XML, Magento doesn't distinguish between integer and floating point numbers for type configurations. Both are specified with the same generic XSI type, number. So let's see what we receive in our example object constructor. Oh, surprise! We get a string. But maybe that's only for floats. What about an integer? No difference. Also a string? Well, good to know. Integer and floating point number strings are easy to convert into numbers in PHP. I tend to use +0 or multiply by 1 to cause PHP to cast a string to a number without having to know if it's a float or an int. Or +0, both are identity functions, and it works quite well. And this also works for scientific notation. No problem. Hexadecimal and binary notation are disallowed in the configuration XML. We get an exception if we put a B or an X in there. But scientific notation is allowed, and so are octal numbers. So this is a bit problematic because if I make a string out of the octal number here and use the identity function on it, it's treated as base 10. So completely different result. This means to properly accept number arguments as strings, we need to check for octal notation explicitly to be safe. So let's add an XML string to number method to our example object. So if the string starts with a 0, we'll use octdec to convert it to a number. Otherwise, we'll use the identity function. Okay, now we receive a number. Let's try an octal value, just for completeness. Okay, very good. And that pretty much wraps up handling of number type arguments.